no Banco Interamericano de Desenvolvimento. É um prazer recebê-los hoje na tarde, depois do almoço. Espero que não todos durmam, porque essa sessão é muito interessante. Senão, nós temos cafeína, café no corredor. Então, tereis palestrantes hoje de tarde. Temos um grupo muito diverso que vai representar as EFS, as procuradorias. E é uma boa mistura, uma boa. Temos representando o Tribunal de Contas da União do Brasil, Júnior Marques Arifa, ao meu lado, e representando a Procuradoria da Costa Rica, Amélia Jiménez, e representando a Argentina, Auditora-Geral da Nação da Argentina, Maria Lorena Agnello. Então é bom porque no Brasil há um tribunal diferente.
Because they're collegiate auditors. So this session maximizes the use of the digitalization and technology in the EFS, in the SAIs. So we're going to one of them doing. So the first speaker we have Junior Zarifa. Mr. Junior Zarifa is the coordinator of public policy in the Account Tribunal in Brazil, in charge of the auditing, the health auditing departments, education, well-being, welfare, finance, environment, agriculture, work, development, competitiveness, and public safety. So he never sleeps, I suppose. He's always working. He's been an auditor since 1997, and has taken different positions within the TCU, including general coordinator, coordinator of auditors, head of auditing, director and advisor of the minister of the TCU. He's audited financial institutions, public banks, the national budget of agriculture, organizations in the ground, social programs, public procurement, among others. So everything. Before working for Brazil's TCU, Mr. Arifa worked for the Brazilian Bank and the Supreme Court of Elections. He has 2 graduate degrees in accounting and law. Welcome. And I hope you all have your translation device to listen to him in Portuguese and Spanish.
Boa tarde a todos. Em primeiro lugar, gostaria de agradecer a Deb, em nome do presidente do Tribunal de Contas da União, pelo convite para mais uma vez participar, o Tribunal de Contas da União poder participar do Crescer. E é um privilégio para nós também, viu, Deb? Muito obrigado, em nome do Banco Mundial. Bom, eu queria começar conversando com vocês, relembrando um pouco que nas últimas 3 décadas, a velocidade da transformação tecnológica foi imensa. É possível perceber, simplesmente por essas imagens, né, como que evoluiu a transformação tecnológica até chegarmos hoje, em que estamos já entrando na 4ª geração da Revolução Industrial. E, nesse período todo, essa evolução tecnológica mudou fortemente a forma como nos relacionamos, mudou, inclusive desaparecendo vários serviços, produtos e empresas durante todo esse período. Podemos ver, foi citado hoje na abertura, o exemplo da Kodak, que apesar de ter descoberto a câmera digital, não acreditou nessa solução e acabou sendo aniquilada pela solução que ela mesma descobriu. A Netflix, que hoje em dia não é possível mais encontrar blockbusters ao redor do mundo, né, faliram também. A Spotify acabou com as produtoras de discos, Airbnb e Uber vem criando dificuldade para os hotéis e os taxistas, respectivamente, o que vai provocar esses atores a repensarem a forma de trabalhar, e isso remonta também ao aspecto da administração pública, do controle, que, em face dessa tecnologia que vem avançando muito rapidamente, nós também precisamos nos repensar bastante. O que acontece? Da ótica do Tribunal de Contas da União, podemos questionar qual o tamanho do desafio no Brasil. O Brasil, como todos conhecem, tem dimensões continentais, uma população agora em 2009 já de 209 milhões, é um país muito fragmentado, com 26 estados, dispersos em 5.570 municípios, tendo um PIB aí em torno de 1,7 trilhões de dólares agora no ano de 2018. Isso implica dizer que nós, auditores, seria impossível para nós, auditores, que somos em torno de 1.500, conseguirmos fiscalizar todo o país e todos esses, apesar de ser um enfoque apenas nas federações, conseguir fiscalizar e auditar toda essa demanda. Bom, por isso, já há alguns anos, iniciamos fortemente a utilização de tecnologia da informação, sobretudo inteligência artificial, como uma forma de potencializar nossos resultados e antecipando já algumas evidências de uma forma mais eficiente, mais segura, para que possamos escolher o escopo das nossas auditorias e também o foco da nossa atuação, já com um grau de certeza elevado, e muitas vezes não precisamos nem ir a campo fazer auditoria, porque o tratamento de dados, os cruzamentos de dados, as auditorias feitas por meio das ferramentas de TI já são suficientes e também tem um efeito de atuarmos preventivamente e podemos fazer um acompanhamento simultâneo depois de mapeados os problemas. Eu vou mostrar para vocês um pouquinho a estratégia que o Tribunal de Contas da União vem usando hoje para tratar dados. Então, nós criamos um conceito de laboratório de contas, que é chamado Lab Contas. Por meio desse laboratório de contas, nós capturamos os dados que são públicos, colocamos trazemos para dentro do tribunal as bases, alguns dados que são custodiados da Receita Federal, do Banco Central, que são sigilosos, também que estão à nossa disposição, e também outros dados que são internos, que nós mesmos produzimos. Então, o que nós fazemos? De posse desses dados, é feito um tratamento dos dados para qualificar, para que eles tenham um significado, que possamos entender a aplicação nas políticas públicas. Construímos um repositório central e depois, sobre esse repositório, são aplicados alguns softwares, alguns aplicativos, algumas soluções que nós denominamos alguns nomes, são as garotas do Tribunal de Contas da União. Alice, Sofia, Mônica, Adelaide, e aí por diante. E eu vou falar um pouquinho para vocês sobre a aplicação chamada Alice, que foi uma aplicação desenvolvida juntamente com a Controladoria Geral da União no Brasil, e com a função específica de acompanhar e monitorar as licitações públicas, as compras públicas do governo federal, e fazer estudos sobre os editais que são publicados a cada dia. Aqui eu dou um exemplo de um auditor que identificou um edital que foi publicado, um valor muito alto, suspeito, do orçamento, que girava em torno de 1,8 milhões de dólares. Esse auditor entrou em contato com o órgão e questionou alguns requisitos que tinham sido adotados, e o órgão republicou o edital no valor de 470 mil dólares. Isso, um simples contato, um simples cruzamento, foi possível uma economia de 1,3 milhões de dólares para os cofres públicos. Quer dizer, esse dinheiro nem chegou a sair. Essa é a melhor estratégia que pode ser utilizada pelo controle externo de evitar que haja gasto indevido. Nessa situação teve um agravante, só teve um concorrente, só uma empresa participou da licitação. Então, com certeza, o preço contratado seria de 1,8 milhões se o TCU não tivesse atuado dessa forma. Bom, esse aqui é uma visão geral do painel, do Alice, que é permitido consultar dados de forma georreferenciada, com diversas tipologias, com diversos scripts. É possível também construir alguns scripts para obter informação individualizada por empresas, por órgãos, por estado, por município. Então, é uma ferramenta muito poderosa, que pode ser utilizada hoje não só pelos auditores do tribunal, mas já foi disponibilizada para vários órgãos da administração pública, Polícia Federal, para o Ministério Público, os tribunais. Então, isso é uma ferramenta que não serve apenas ao tribunal. Então, aqui, só para ter um resumo de apenas o trabalho de um auditor, durante aproximadamente 6 meses, gerou um benefício de 14,8 milhões em benefícios financeiros para a União, evitando que houvesse gastos superfaturados. Isso foram monitorados em torno de 200 editais de compras públicas, 28 pregões, e foram monitorados 12 contratos. E também o montante de recursos fiscalizados representou aqui 1,5 bilhões de dólares. E, ao final, 31 editais de compras públicas foram alterados e foram autuados apenas 4 denúncias pelo tribunal. Então, imagine, 2 questões que ocorreram aqui. Primeiro, o volume que foi auditado com a ferramenta tecnológica por apenas um auditor, e o trabalho que gerou para o futuro foi apenas em 4 processos, que já estavam mapeados e foram instruídos muito rapidamente. Bom, então eu falei um pouquinho dessa aplicação preventiva na área de compras, e eu vou falar um pouquinho agora da aplicação dessas ferramentas de inteligência da informação para as auditorias em geral, auditorias voltadas para políticas públicas e programas na área de saúde, educação, defesa. O que nós fazemos? Inicialmente, os auditores estudam o critério que existe no ordenamento jurídico para as políticas públicas, ou seja, as leis existentes, os normativos, as orientações dos órgãos, e a partir dessas leis, que tomadas como critério, são identificados possíveis achados, ou seja, fragilidades que podem ser descumpridas ou inobservadas pelos gestores ou pelo mercado. E, a partir daí, são requisitados dados da administração pública, as bases de dados do órgão que está fiscalizando. Pode ser da Previdência, pode ser da Educação, Saúde. E, após recebidos esses dados, é feito o tratamento de dados, que chamamos de qualificação dos dados, data quality. Porque os dados vêm, às vezes, não estruturados, é difícil compreender, não dá para utilizar para fazer cruzamentos, né? Significam tipologias que significam coisas distintas, apesar de terem os mesmos nomes. E depois de feita essa qualificação, que é um trabalho muito custoso, que demora bastante, nós partimos para o cruzamento de dados. Então, criamos as tipologias, os scripts, para fazer esse cruzamento de dados. Acho que está tendo um delay aqui entre as 2 apresentações, mas eu estou aqui do lado direito. Então, eu vou dar um exemplo para vocês aqui de uma auditoria que foi feita. Na verdade, isso aqui é só um recorte de uma auditoria que foi feita numa política pública que é chamada no Brasil de Programa de Aquisição de Alimentos. Essa política pública, ela é direcionada para a população de baixa renda. Então, é um programa social que existe no Brasil. E eu peguei apenas algumas tipologias aqui para mostrar que, com os cruzamentos de dados que nós fizemos, sem ir a campo, sentado no nosso escritório, identificamos que 211 beneficiários estavam falecidos e estavam recebendo benefício. Que mais 390 beneficiários possuíam uma propriedade rural maior do que poderia ser beneficiário, ou seja, era incompatível com o tamanho, tinham propriedades grandes, que acabavam fugindo do critério de baixa renda. Outros 5.238 sequer tinham registros válidos que poderiam ser considerados beneficiários para essa política, para esse programa. Titulares de cargos eletivos, ou seja, representantes do parlamento, deputados, senadores, que não são qualificados com baixa renda e que estavam recebendo esse benefício. E 814 servidores públicos que também estavam sendo beneficiados e não preenchiam o requisito. Isso aqui é só um exemplo do que acontece em diversos trabalhos de auditoria que nós fazemos. Em montantes imensos. Nós fizemos um outro envolvendo reforma agrária que acusou desconformidades e indícios de irregularidade de quase 150 mil beneficiários recebendo benefício indevido e muitos outros. Bom, eu vou agora falar um pouco do processo de trabalho para chegar àquelas conclusões que estão naquela tabela lá. Então, depois de realizado o cruzamento de dados, nós precisamos analisar os cruzamentos de dados, identificando as inconsistências e os conflitos existentes. Depois de identificado isso, nós passamos para a construção do relatório de cruzamento com os gráficos, as análises e todas as tabelas para fácil compreensão dos achados. Após construído o relatório, nós encaminhamos esse relatório para os gestores, os responsáveis, e para os comentários finais, nós depois fazemos os ajustes, conversamos com os gestores para verificar se tem alguma inadequação no nosso relatório. E aí sim passamos a qualificar os nossos achados e as nossas evidências para poder elaborar propostas de encaminhamento. E para que esses achados sejam considerados, temos critérios rigorosos de relevância, de confiabilidade no achado, se os papéis de trabalho sustentam, se são confiáveis e se são suficientes para que nós possamos fazer aquelas afirmações e possamos propor melhorias, sugerir determinações e recomendações para os órgãos envolvidos. E assim, montamos o processo com todos os papéis de trabalho, os scripts, os dados, as tipologias e os documentos. Bom, aqui, outra aplicação, utilizando tecnologia da informação, é com geotecnologias. Essa auditoria que eu mencionei em reforma agrária, nós identificamos, por meio de geossensoriamento remoto, que várias propriedades elas tinham duplicidade de utilização. Digamos assim, elas estavam qualificadas como propriedades para assentamento, propriedades como áreas protegidas, propriedades privadas. O mesmo terreno estava alocado para várias funções. E, além disso, assim como naquela outra política de aquisição de alimentos, também identificamos aqui várias inconformidades de beneficiários que estavam mortos e recebendo o benefício, menores de idade recebendo benefício, marido e mulher recebendo em duplicidade o benefício, ou seja, 2 lotes contíguos, áreas contíguas. Então, assim, foram inúmeras irregularidades que nós identificamos sem ir a campo, e com base no cruzamento de dados e nesse geossensoriamento remoto, nós pudemos escolher uma amostra para visitar alguns assentamentos e confirmar esses achados que a gente tinha evidenciado e visto como indícios de irregularidade. Assim como nessa auditoria, outros trabalhos na área de infraestrutura, para identificar obras que talvez inacabadas, obras que estão fora do padrão, portos, rodovias, né, aeroportos. Nesse caso aqui, à direita, tem pode visualizar do ponto de vista do aspecto ambiental, um processo erosivo que decorreu de uma atuação de uma empreiteira. Do lado esquerdo é possível verificar um foco de incêndio, de queimada. Então, várias aplicações estão sendo utilizadas por nós, porque seria impossível, imaginem só, enviar auditores para verificar ou evidenciar esses tipos de achados para poder depois endereçar alguma solução para os gestores, né? Uma outra auditoria importante, que eu acho que alguns dos senhores conhecem, foi a auditoria que utilizou geotecnologias e criou uma ferramenta chamada Indimapa, que mostra indicadores de grau de implementação das áreas protegidas. Inicialmente, o trabalho foi feito na Amazônia. Então, para a Amazônia, depois esse trabalho foi estendido para todo o Brasil, juntamente com a América Latina e Caribe, envolvendo 90% das áreas protegidas da América Latina e Caribe, com a participação de 12 países da América Latina e Caribe. Então, esses indicadores foram colocados no mapa de forma georreferenciada, que é possível verificar por regiões, por unidade, por área protegida, por país e até pelo continente como um todo, o nível de implementação dessas áreas protegidas. Outra aplicação a partir desse trabalho em áreas protegidas foi a identificação de alertas de forma georreferenciada do nível de desmatamento que existia nessas áreas protegidas do Brasil e nos outros países da América Latina também. Uma terceira aplicação desse trabalho também, que foi aplicado no Indimapa, foi a identificação de um índice de captura de carbono pelas áreas protegidas, ou seja, a contribuição das áreas protegidas para a redução das emissões, que mais fortemente, além da redução, é a captura mesmo do carbono. Então, para os senhores verem como facilita o trabalho dos auditores, e hoje é uma ferramenta indispensável para o nosso trabalho. Não seria possível realizar esse trabalho sem a utilização das ferramentas de TI. E nós sentimos que estamos apenas começando. Estamos fazendo parcerias com outras entidades de fiscalização superiores, outros países, outros organismos, né, como Banco Mundial, GIZ, dentro da Intosai também, para podermos aprimorar as ferramentas que estamos utilizando. E, com isso, qual o objetivo maior do tribunal? Poder disponibilizar ferramentas tecnológicas de TI para auditores que não têm formação em TI, não têm conhecimento, sem precisar, eles podem acessar e fazer algumas aplicações como a Alice, Sofia, Adele, e fazer cruzamentos nas bases de dados sem ter um conhecimento aprofundado de TI. Isso potencializa muito a nossa atuação e gera uma efetividade, uma eficiência maior na nossa atuação, porque nós conseguimos ampliar o espectro da atualização do controle e contribuir mais para a melhoria das políticas públicas no Brasil, entrega de serviços de saúde, educação e segurança com maior qualidade. Eu paro por aqui, agradeço a atenção dos senhores e fico à disposição para as perguntas. Obrigado.
Universidade Católica do Chile. Mestre da Universidade de Barcelona e Master em Ciências
In Cognitive Sciences, sorry for my Spanish, of the Malaga University. She works at the General Controllers of Costa Rica since 2002, and at present leads substantial projects in the fiscalization and the assessment, such as audit and investigation, budget approval, I regulation regarding internal control, budgeting, and financial administration. She also has experience as an advisor in assessment and follow-up of projects, and has a certification in business hotch, in business coaching, leadership coaching, in the cultural transformation, and in the public functions. Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you for allowing me to share the experience we have had. And it's a pleasure to be here with the partners in other fiscalization instances. In terms of the content, the context. Today we have had presentations that have shown how technology has an impact in institutions. So I'd like to analyze the experience at the controllers. In our case, we've been wondering how to maximize the value that we generate. We understand our products are very important to the extent that they contribute to improvements and throughout these years, and we've always asked ourselves what we have to do differently to better contribute, and one of the tools is the use of technologies. But I would also like to say that the fourth industrial revolution, not only because of the technological progress, but the learning and evolution on the investigation of how human beings learn, and how human beings have memory, capacity, creativity, and I believe this fourth industrial revolution is shedding a light in this regard. Some discoveries that you may know that seem extraordinary to me is to know that we have the capacity to learn along our lives based on the capacity of the plasticity that we have, and that we have cells in their brain that allows us to create more cells in our brain. And then the learning involved in learning how to think and feel, and how we can make better decisions. The capacity of the human being is extraordinary. So when we talk about how to take advantage of technologies, we have to realize that people have to take advantage of them, and the true transformation comes from people. So it's true that technology is there. It's a great opportunity and an obligation, because there's a great availability of data and a large citizen demand to generate other processes faster, that are more timely and with a larger scope. So this fourth industrial revolution that motivates us to maximize the value that we generate goes through the understanding that technology is just one of them. And to be able to make that leap, we also need changes in different levels. In the public sector, and the controllers has big challenges ahead of itself by changing their service models based on technologies. And in this regard, technology has implied the processes, the challenge of how we communicate with people and how we carry things out, and understand the leadership of an organization much more focused on innovation, working with others. We've talked, and throughout this activity, it's been interesting to understand that a part of the possibility of growing implying sharing in these processes that are increasingly faster and innovative. It's also important how the use of technologies make people have more demand of information, data, and this is a great opportunity for supervisory bodies, but also a big challenge. also how technology is better handled in the public sector at the controllers, and how to generate public policy that is based on data, because controllers can have a lot of data, but at the end of the day, what has an influence is how we improve the quality of life of people. We have had a process of various years. We've been experimenting and testing. We've been learning in different projects, and I'd like to share 4 of them within my experience in the last few years and looking at an element from this learning. One of the first projects, we've done a series of audits in procurement, and it's a very important topic from the perspective of the controllers because it makes a big contribution in terms of efficiency, but what the process implies. So we decided to do audits under the principle that what we need to do is sampling, and that we could do an audit reviewing all transactions from an institution. So we started doing audits in the institutions that were more active in the government. And so we created a team that would support the audit team. We worked in a very integrated fashion, and the first step is the learning that's generated from what it implies to have data ready to be analyzed. It seems simple, but part of what we learned was the importance of data and the capacity to prepare data, process them, and transform them so that they can be used. We also applied new techniques that are normally not used in these processes: control data, decision trees, the Mempford law, to analyze data and analyze all of the procurement processes. It's interesting to observe that we notice different flags and risk elements that allowed us to focus on prevention, which is one of the most important issues in our strategic plan, generating improvements in controls to reduce future risks. It also allowed us to understand how we can have standardized databases. When we did many of these audits, each institution had individual databases. Some of them were recording in a record system, but the country is evolving on a public procurement system compulsory for the sector, and that includes everybody. And this has strengthened public management, but it also opens an opportunity for the controllers to extend this analysis and do it in a more continuous fashion. We also have an information system that has the information of the public budget and plans. This system has existed for 10 years, and it's a big database generated by the controllers, and first with an objective to facilitate the budget management process. But as the years go by, it's become a big for the analysis of the information, not only of the controllers, but other factors. And it's become a success factor that is interesting for advisory and support to Congress. We now have the chance to continuously advance in the different stages of the process, and we've been learning, experimenting that are more complex techniques from the world of statistics and others by entering computer programming techniques as supervision models, regression models. We've made some projections with neuronal networks, cluster analysis, and we issue 4 to 6 reports a year, and every report gets something new. We learn something new, and we generate a deeper analysis of the data. This generates a big value for decision making in Congress and other decision making bodies in a more timely fashion. A third exercise that we did within the audits, and it's technology used with major contributors. And this is something the Ministry of Finance did with income tax evasion. And we come across lots of data that were very important to analyze with the purpose of identifying the efficacy of indicators based on best practices. One of the most interesting elements from this audit was the capacity to translate the data that are not operational in data that could be used within the audit in a fast period of time, and then we get new tools and the capacity of people to learn new things, such as creating new routines so that the information is a click away. But what's interesting for me is that the process of understanding data, of doing the routines and analyze them was done with the supervisee. So it's a different type of an audit, because what do we get from managing data if those that generate public policies and the decision makers don't have the capacity or haven't had this approach to do it? So we didn't only do a major report, but there's a learning and knowledge so that the officers themselves in finance could keep monitoring the impact of their action. And this is a different way of making supervision. A fourth example. Another issue is in terms of salary incentives. And we analyzed 190 institutions, and we built a series of indicators on sustainability, simplicity, and efficiency of these salary tools. And we applied new tools, some of the techniques that I had mentioned, network analysis, and we experimented with data mining in regards to social media. And some interesting things when we talk about data, the possibility that controllers have to offer data that is easier, more timely, more accessible. And one of the interesting things in this project was not only the analysis that we did, but the effort made by the controllers to present information that could actually be used by the rest of the stakeholders. And we issued a report with recommendations, a database with what we've recovered, and then a site of the results so that people could interact with the data, both public institutions as well as citizens exercising control, political control, mass media that oftentimes use this data. And it's interesting because when we presented the data in HTML, we've seen that there's further closeness for this information to be used by the media almost directly. So this project opened our perspective on the importance of how important it is for us not only to learn how to do it, but also how to present it in a way that allows others to do more with the same data. And it's something that we did at the end of the year. And to say that one of the most interesting things is not only what we did within, but also outside, but also within. We had a divisional team with different areas and professions in a process with coordination and the model of controllers that would be looking at the future less hierarchical, with more coordination and focused on outcomes based on huge motivation from the people that we have at the controllers. To finish, as I said at the beginning, the true transformation happens in the hearts and minds of people, and technology is a very powerful tool, and I'd say is a tool to do things that we should be doing now, but that we shouldn't forget that technology, for it to have an impact and the impact that we expect, we also need to work on other areas. And we've been working on focusing on results. We've said audits and reports are important, but the most important thing is results. And this has implied creating a follow-up unit because at the beginning they said, what are the provisions? We're not so clear. Now we have absolute clarity about each provision. And so measures are made or not made. And this has been great learning for us to understand that we need to do things very differently from what we're doing today to have an impact. And then we need to have new models and the paradigms we have had, like to have the idea that we could have that truth, because the truth changes so quickly that the capacity that we need to have is to learn how to build learning in the administration and the stakeholders to make transformations. So what to us was very important, that was to issue a report is important, but it's also important how to carry audits, how we make supervisions, what processes do we carry out so that when we submit a report, we've created a process of transformation with the people we interact with. So based on this experience in the evasion audit, it was a big experience. And in the end, we had a report that was very different, not only because of our attitude. We not only took the data, but we shared it, and we shared the learning as well. As a controller, we've had a huge generational change. And one of the most important elements, if we can say what are the critical factors for an organization to assume these challenges, is the culture, the values, and the capacities of the people we work with. So we've started leadership processes that are based on a different leadership that are part of the fourth industrial revolution. They stem from the self-demand, personal analysis, and other skills that are the most important ones, like the capacity to listen, and which we're much more accustomed to persuade rather than listening. We've been working on this, a culture of innovation. We've been working on different coordination models where we begin to understand that the way in which we coordinate has to change. And we understand that the principles we interact with have to change as well, and how to generate this so that we can really respond to what citizens demand. So the use of technologies has become a great opportunity. We've done things that without technology wouldn't have been possible. We're in a learning process that has been extraordinary, and extraordinary in the sense of understanding that this way of working changes because tools and the environment is different every day. And what we need to learn what to do, it's how to contribute differently. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amelia. So now we're going to listen to Maria Lorena Agnello. She's a public accountant and a graduate from the School of Economic Sciences and Statistics from the National University of Rosario. She's the head of the cabinet in the general audit of the nation, the AGN. Other positions she has had at the AGN is the secretary of the school of the Association of Auditors and Accountants between September 2017 and February 2019. She's the head of the control department in Social Security between 2008 and 2017, and is a current member of the implementation team of the integrated system of the audit control that's called SICA. And she's a trainer in government control and has a degree in law from Social Security, and the Business and Social Science, UCS University. and she has a specialization in the detection of fraud in audit, Professional Council of Economic Sciences from the Autonomous City of Buenos Aires, and Academic Direction and Knowledge. Welcome. Thank you so much. Before anything else, let me thank for the invitation of the IDB in the person of Anna and Deborah. And let me thank the President of the General Audit of the Nation that trusted for him to be represented here. It's very difficult to be the last panelist after 2 very intensive days and so many presentations after listening to the work the account court makes in Brazil and then in Costa Rica as well, and the controllers. Let's talk about what AGN does in our experience. For us, getting on board the fourth revolution has been a road we've been going through in the last few years. For us, the first landmark was in 2012, where the leaders of the SFS made the decision of adapting the regulatory frameworks to international standards. And I believe that was the first point of departure. A group of professionals made the decision of being trained as mentors, and based on this, we started to transfer this knowledge within the organization. In 2015, an agreement is signed with the controllers in Chile, and this is where we get our famous SICA. SICA is an application that the controllers of Chile developed with a donation from the IDB. And we shared the source codes and other documents. The challenge of AGN consisted and will continue consisting on adapting SICA, which is the integrated system of audit control that was only expected to be used in compliance and financial audit to the 3 types through the same platform. Of course, everything that we do can be done because it's within our strategic plan that has taken 2 years now. And then the other big challenge that we were listening to Fabiana Jala yesterday was the change in paradigm in the public in Argentina, and we went from a paper government to open data, everything digital, and I think this is the big center of the core of my presentation. Last year in the OLACEF assembly, there was a declaration in Buenos Aires, and in this declaration, under the supervision entities, given the new information technologies, and we started to get started for this seminar, Crecer today, that if we're going to grow, there are 9 critical points in the declaration, and that basically know what we've been discussing: permanent training, to look for knowledge and share it with other AFS and different organizations, different SAIs, the use of technology, of information and digitally in the entire auditing process, from planning, execution, reports, and follow-up. And this has been the starting point. We had begun working with some areas with satellite images, and this has reinforced our horizon and the line of action to follow. This slide explains, as part of this challenge, which was to adapt our regulatory framework to the international standards, these first trainers that were, I think, no more than 4 in 2015 were able to transmit our their knowledge to 36 facilitators, and in this way train 1,200 professionals. This was done basically with all of the staff at home, and we involved all of the substantiative areas. And I believe this is something we need to look at, and it's an important challenge for the SAIs, that our members feel a part of this, that feel that are part of the process of change in the organization, because obviously applying new technologies and new regulatory frameworks implies that all of the organization has to be involved. So this is basically the strategic plan. Basically, what I wanted to share was that in Fabiana's presentation that had worked on how public management had changed nationally. This had a deep impact in the general audit of the nation because the auditing department was very much focused on working on paper. And by working on paper, what happened? By implementing the electronic system, IGEDE for us, that's how we call it, we stopped having paper and there was an electronic file. This system is put in application for all jurisdictions nationally, with which the auditor had a challenge and a change and a first big obstacle, because public administration hadn't foreseen the query mode, even if this was allowed for the interoperability of one department to the other, because the General Audit of the Nation is a technical assistance body in the legislative power. It was not a part of the executive power. And we're working and requesting authorities with permanent meetings to solve this problem, because it would be a lot easier if we could have access directly as an auditor. Obviously, this will have an impact on the 3 stages of the auditing area. First of all, planning, we have to define the audit, when we have to look at the risks, and the execution. And in the execution, we will begin using new technology through the use of big data and through the use of the images of a drone. We have a big challenge, which is to try so that the images that we can use, the georeferenced images that can be inserted within the audit report. We're also working quite extensively on how we communicate our reports, because the AGD is different to a controller's office. We don't have a sanctionatory power, a correction power of the observations and the findings that we have. But for us, our main partner is the citizen. If we're able to make these reports available to citizens in a very straightforward and agile manner, and I don't remember the name of the speaker that in 2 minutes 40 has to attract your attention, that has to be our challenge. And so for this challenge, let me see if this is the right video. In order for you not to live these situations, but this is not enough. It's necessary and relevant to carry out the government supervision to guarantee the quality of life of citizens. The General Audit of the Nation audited public policy actions and found important weaknesses in the National Department of the Protection of Personal Data. And the dissemination actions were not enough, and that a low adhesion of users of telephone lines, that according to the survey carried out between the people registered, then it's not effective. 76% of them said that they were contacted by companies offering products or services. A low complaint indicator, only 28% of those that said were still contacted made a complaint. The body was not effective in processing complaints before non-compliances of this law. Only 16% of the file sample has been focused to put an end to the situation, was not effective in the application of sanctions. Of the 13 cases applied, only in 5 the sanction is final. There's one fine and the rest are notices. This report was approved through Resolution 2021-2018. To have access to this information, there are different formats that you can check in agn.gov/reports and list of reports. I believe the objective was for a report that normally is 100 pages. We're trying to make them shorter. A video can have an impact for citizens, and this is a program. I don't know if this happens here, but in Argentina it's very common for our cell phones to receive telephone calls of people offering services. And there was a record in public policy, and people could register to this registry. So basically, what have been the results of this policy? And so basically, in this way, we try for this report to get to people, and that people in general can take control, and that can also participate and provide feedback to our work. And that's why we've worked extensively, not only in social media and to generate an app that has public access, but also work extensively with citizens, with the organizations in the civil society, to include them not only when sharing results, but that they're also a part of the rating of the work people do. And they're the ones that have a certain information, and they will guide us where to look for information so that we save in terms of planning and reducing our time frames in the audit, and in this way to generate a better quality product with more impact and to be closer to the citizen. These are the big challenges that we have in the SAIs, which is the transformation of the organizational culture, teamwork with multidisciplinary skills, and it's something that has been discussed here, that there's a satellite image or a huge database, but if the person is not there that can understand the data and that can guide this work, it's not feasible to do a control process. Permanent training, interaction with citizens that provide a feedback to our control work. And basically, something very important is to have budgetary resources, because SAAs have this challenge that we want to do big things, but we don't have the necessary funds for this. And finally, which for Argentina is a federal country, the use of technologies should contribute to the efficiency, timing, and fluency of information so that the control is closer to citizens. And in this way, we can contribute to a new control paradigm. Thank you. Thank you, Lorena, and all of the panel. We have a few minutes to go, but I have a question for each one of you. All of your presentations and your initiatives are very interesting, but for a small country, people can be overwhelmed. Maybe for a big country, and you've mentioned this implies a cultural change, lots of training, but in terms of budgeting, we see that Brazil is a huge country, and it's very likely that the account court has a big budget, deep pockets, resources, but each one of you has developed your own in-house initiatives, or you hired consultants and requested a budget to implement these things. Or did they cut your budget? And how long did it take for you to implement these initiatives in general? Thank you for your question. This is actually a big challenge, independently from the size of the country and budget. It's a challenge. And it's important to say that Brazil has gone through a big cultural change. The difficulty is very big for our court to work with the administration, because data are not reliable, and sometimes there's data but they're not structured. And another perspective of the TCU and the effort we had to do was not small, and it was prioritized in the area of the administration of the court throughout more or less 10 years, information technology. And this was built with the creation of an internal bank, a room to store the data, all of the training for the court. There are 100 technicians in IT. So it's not small, but I don't work directly, or they don't work directly with auditing. The change was that the technology area and the court could set their eyes on external control, which would be auditing. And this is where we started winning. For this to happen, we needed a lot of training, partnerships with international organizations, German agencies for the development, the World Bank, the IDB. And even so, we understand that we still have a long ways to go, because there's a big lagoon, a big gap between auditors in IT and those that are not IT. So it's going to be very difficult, almost impossible for all auditors to have a deep knowledge in IT. So our position was to invest in tools that don't need IT to operate. And what I feel is that the smaller countries that have internal control bodies and external control that is smaller will need to give a priority to be able to develop the tools and develop an internal culture. Oftentimes, smaller countries and bodies, it's even easier to change their culture. which is our case in Brazil. We not only in the control body, but also from the public. Transparency has a very high cost. Imagine if we could do a big brother of the public administration. The census, the knowledge of people, the good sense of people. We think we don't have the courage to say it externally. If we could have further transparency, the people that are misaligned with this culture of respect to others and the use of the importance of the majority would feel bad in talking about this behavior. So the trend is to develop this jointly. I liked, he talks about the woman from Costa Rica because she talked about self-knowledge, and it has to do with this, to invest increasingly more, to teach about the importance citizens have in each country, to change our reality. And for this to happen, we have to believe in this. We can't be discouraged because our creativity and our capacity is unlimited. If we're able to transform this culture, we can. Thank you. This is what the IDB and the World Bank would want to do, to collaborate with the entire region and with you to move forward, but with quality. Has been within the controllers, one of the things has been the importance of learning from other controllers' offices, in particular with the Brazilian one, but other meetings we've had on this issue. And I think that when one is able to see that something is possible, this generates important energy when carrying out these processes with some levels of training and using looking at the resources that are for free at the level of training. The truth of the matter is, in Costa Rica, we have a complex fiscal situation. And under these circumstances, what this allows you when there's limitations is that innovation is motivated in people. So in terms of working with others, leveraging resources with others within the country and outside the country, to understand the others as a person that is capable of being a part of the process, and with the work that we did with the Ministry of Finance, for example. But of course, what one sees is the speed with which you can move forward when you have the opportunity of further learning. And I think, like I mentioned before, these moments make you see, and you have to strongly assess yourself and understand that sometimes limitations for things things to happen have to do with resources, to having training, but it also happens with the people with the way people react. So sometimes you wonder if this the model of organization that we require, if we're allowing people to develop themselves, and if we're generating this culture or environment. In terms of the culture, Costa Rica is a country that demands data and at the level of citizens. So in this case, there's a good opportunity. As the Argentina person explained, the Argentinian explained, we've been using national surveys to better understand the needs and where we need to, in what direction we need to move, how we're incorporating the perspective of citizens. So in the technological tools, we see a great opportunity to be able to get closer and generate further value through the citizens. But the biggest strategy has been in this internal process. And we have to see what's the role of the auditor of the future, and most likely the limits will increasingly disappear because we should be able to have auditors and supervisors with more potential to understand data and do supervision. In Argentina, in the last projects, in standards and SICA, the audiovisual part, images, somehow people have worked with some experience with international cooperation. This thing about sharing experiences is fundamental and is what enriches the work. As I said, the cultural change, the organizational cultural change is important because we have to engage everyone that participates in the organization for things to happen. If learning remains in just a few, it's not easy for this to transcend and have an impact. But as you know very well, the situation in Argentina, economically speaking, is not very good. So obviously we would need the support of a partner to get the necessary resources to move forward, because obviously the role of the SAIs has to change and has to be different if we want to be in the innovation and right on this fourth revolution. There's no other way we can be up to speed with the technological changes. As we've heard, the cyber threats, we need an infrastructure that is not only related with knowledge, but we need something else. So I think it's very important to be here and share these experiences. Thank you. Unfortunately, we're running short of time. We don't have more time for questions, but we'd like to invite you to talk to the panelists over the break and the cocktail at night. And also, I'd like to mention that the IDB will be working with the SAIs on big data and artificial intelligence this and next year to collect data and coordinate, because there are several countries that are trying to innovate and implement things, and rather than doubling efforts, we would like to have a big project. So we're going to talk to each one of you and other countries to do a pilot, most likely in 2020 at the IDB. We have an order from top management to innovate and use whatever we can in terms of artificial intelligence and digitalization. And I would like to mention that in terms of the financial statements, in particular the auditing reports that external auditors give us on the financial projects funded by the bank, we're checking them, and with the use of Luca, it's a man rather than a woman, as Alice in Argentina or Sofia. We have a couple here. So if you want to understand more about this revision of a BOT to review the auditing reports, Lourdes Sanchez, my colleague from Washington, can you stand up? You can talk to her. But thank you so much. It's been very interesting for me. And I think we can spend all afternoon on this topic, but we have the last plenary session, a break now, and a plenary session in a few minutes. Thank you so much.